Let us begin today with a successful end to the rescue efforts in Thailand. All 12 children, along with their soccer coach, are safely out of the cave. Divers managed to remove the final 4 boys and their coach today. The group had been trapped inside the cave for more than 2 weeks.
19 divers carried out the 3rd rescue operation conducted in the last 3 days. Now, Anna Werner reports from Chiang Rai province with more on how rescuers accomplished their mission.
An ambulance was seen Tuesday leaving the cave where divers made the final push to rescue a youth soccer team and their coach. Rescue crews worked furiously to keep the water out of the cave by any means necessary, including plugging sinkholes on the mountain that let water in.
Water management is the key to this whole thing.
Tanet Natisi helped lead the effort to remove water from the cave. He told us they faced a critical deadline to get everyone out before heavy rain in the forecast Thursday.
What do you think people don't understand about the attempt to manage the water?
I think people just need to realize that, it's really hard to keeping out the water from the cave. We cannot get 100% or even like 50% of it.
Water drained from the cave helped reduce the fast-moving current and allowed the boys to walk in some parts previously flooded. But the path out still required each boy to swim through dark, narrow passageways flooded with murky water. 2 divers guided boys while they held onto a rope. 1 diver in the front held an oxygen tank, and another was in the back. The first 4 boys emerged from the cave safely Sunday, and 4 more followed on Monday. Most were flown in helicopters, then driven in ambulances to a Chiang Rai hospital. Thai public health officials say those first 4 rescued boys can now stand up and walk around their beds. They're eating normal meals and waved at their parents through a glass window. All 8 boys are being quarantined because of the risk of infection. At least 2 of the boys may have lung infections, but none have fevers. Natisi says getting all the boys out safely means everything to Thailand.
What was it like for you to see those first kids come out?
I got really emotional. Yeah, all my team are. When we heard the news, all my team just cried. Like, we've been working so hard for the past 5 days, and it's just finally see it happens. Yeah, that's something.
Anna Werner joins us now from Chiang Rai, Thailand. So, Anna, great news. We've been talking to you since actually the sun was up, since the rescue operation had just got underway. Now it's winding down. What can you tell us about the conditions of the last 4 boys and their coach, though? Because they have been in that cave longer than any of the other boys.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a condition report on these newest people, the last people to emerge from the cave as of yet. We hopefully will find out something soon about how they are doing. We had heard initially that they brought out the strongest boys first. We'd heard that the coach himself was not doing very well, but he was the last person to come out after all the boys were taken before him. So, the other boys we know, like the first group of 4, for example, we know that they are up, moving around, eating, asking for special dishes and favorite foods. And they've actually been in the same room with their parents. The parents had to stand 2 meters away and wear like face masks, but they were able to see their kids in person. The second group of 4 boys, they were able to see their parents, but through a glass partition. So, there are stages clearly happening there as the doctors watch for any signs of infection, make sure that the boys won't be vulnerable themselves also to getting infections, say, from visitors, which obviously you wouldn't want to have that happen if they have weakened immune systems. But so far, the boys that we do know about, we hear they've been doing pretty well. But the latest group, we don't know much about their conditions as of yet.
Anna, we've been talking about how it's just important for everybody to just marvel at the miraculous nature, not miraculous, the triumph of the human spirit, the human will, seeing those young boys smiling in some of those images. But I also want you to talk about the scope of the rescue operation that's taken place. This was an international effort, and for people who may be disheartened, who may be thinking that, this world has become more divisive, when you see an operation like this taking place with so many people participating, it does sort of warm the heart and makes you believe that people are actually good.
You know, the world came to the rescue, Vlad, right? That's what this was, really. I mean, truly, it starts with the people of Thailand coming to rescue their own, but then people from all different countries go around the world. U.S., UK, Australia, hop over to China, hop over to Japan, over to Finland, then Belgium. Anybody who had expertise, cave divers, you know, you saw those first 2 cave divers from Britain literally jumping into the water to go find these boys and accomplishing that in incredibly dangerous terrain. You know, I was watching a documentary about these 2 British cave divers, and they really gave you a sense for just how dangerous this is and just how self-sufficient you have to be to go cave diving. So now multiply that by some 90 divers all coming to help. You had 19 divers in there today, similar numbers to what we saw on the first 2 days, going in, and then 2 divers with each boy helping them to get out. And one of the passages being so narrow that literally the boy kind of had to climb over by themselves or make their way through without the tanks. So incredibly complicated. There were 1,000 people involved in this rescue operation. Think about that, 1,000 people. That did not include the volunteers. There were plenty of volunteers, but those people, we don't know what that number is, all on top of the 1,000 people coming together to help, Fled.
And before they could even embark on this rescue attempt, they had to try and remove some of the water from the cave. And we heard in your story just how difficult that is. You think, oh, just pump it out. Well, it's not that easy. Can you talk a little bit more about the challenges that they faced?
So what really explained this to me a little bit better was when I actually read in a story, I don't remember from where, I regret to say, but they sort of described the cave as an underground river. So if you think about it, runoff from all these storms from the monsoon, they get very heavy rains up here. It's got to go somewhere. It goes through this cave in the mountain. Well, the more water that goes in there, the more ferocious that underground river becomes. The currents get stronger. So now you're trying to dive in some fast-moving, essentially river currents. The cave fills up with water, the more water you have. So how do you get water out of what is a massive cave water system, right? So we interviewed a gentleman today who has originally grew up in Thailand. He now lives in Marion, Illinois, where he runs a Thai restaurant, he tells us. But he also has made something of a study of how do you preserve water, because they have areas of Thailand that need more water, and they've been working on saving some of this rainwater in underground storage systems so they have more water in the dry seasons. So he's been studying the way that you save water, the way that water routes around. And basically he was describing that, so the water gets in there, one of the ways it gets in there is through these sinkholes in the mountain. And so what they've been going and doing is plugging up these sinkholes, you know, filling them up to sort of divert the water. He was describing seeing sort of waterfalls that they had to divert, using pipes to divert the water. And even with that, you can only keep so much of the water out. So that's why they were worried about Thursday, which basically they described as sort of like the deadline day. They're expecting a lot of rain on Thursday. And even though they have these systems set out to take a lot of the water out of the cave, that'll only do so much. When you get major rainfall, that underground river is going to come back to full strength again, and that would have been a very dire situation in their description.
And yet here we are, just marveling at this wonderful news that all of these young boys and their soccer coach and the rescue officials who helped bring them out are all safe and sound. Anna Werner, thank you so much for your reporting. We appreciate it.